Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I'm going to start working on my first tag today for the great big little Stitchery swap. I've got about 28 to make, I think I ended up with, and I'm this time, instead of doing them all and waiting until I've done them all to send them out, I'm going to do them and send them as they're finished. And I thought I might as well go in the order of the ones I received. So I've already had tags from Sylvia and Lucy. I think you'll have maybe seen a video where I showed those. In fact, by the time this goes out, you might have seen some others as well coming in, because obviously I can't put this video out until I know that Sylvia and Lucy have received their tags, because I don't want to spoil the surprise. If you don't know what the great big little Stitchery swap is all about, check out the link I'll put in the description box. I'll put the great big little Stitchery swap playlist, which will show you, goes right back to the very first swap that we did. This is round 4. The first one was early last year, 2023. I can't believe really it was only a year ago, because it feels like we've been doing this forever. I sat out the last one. I sat out number 3 and sat on the sidelines, really enjoying what everybody was doing but feeling a bit left out. So I joined in again this time, and I'm really glad I did. So today I'm going to start working on Lucy's tag. I'm quite happy to get whatever people send me. I have no particular preferences or anything. I'm happy for someone to send me what makes them happy, you know, what they enjoy doing. But sometimes people will have a colour preference, or they want to try and follow a theme. You know, they might, as the deadline is the 31st of December, they might want something Christmassy. There's an optional theme, which is celebration, which you can follow or not. And actually you can do either tags or squares. Let me show you what I mean. So the squares are 10 by 10 centimetres or 4 by 4 inches, and ideally you leave a seam allowance of at least 1 centimetre all around the edge. So your finished square would be 12 by 12, but the work just needs to cover 10 by 10, if that makes sense. This year I suggested that we might like to try tags. So they're exactly half the size of the square, 2 by 4 inches or 10 by 5 centimetres. And I've made myself templates here to make it easier. There's a couple of examples of finished squares. That's one I made myself, and this one was sent to me by, I think this was Magpie Sue sent me this one. Sue Brown, yeah, Magpie Sue sent me that one in the last swap, or swap number 2. And this was one I made myself as an example. You'll find a video where I made this one and this one in that great big little Stitchery swap playlist if you want some ideas. And I also did a video just recently where I started putting together these tags, which I will sit and do I've just done the basics here, and I now will enjoy sitting in the evening adding lots of stitching and detail to these. But I thought I'm going to do these slightly differently, because Lucy has expressed kind of a preference. She wasn't at all fussy about it. She just said she loved bright colours, like the kind of colours you get in saris, Indian saris. Oh, and also because she said that she enjoyed the whole Bazaar. Bazaar are a company that I buy scrap packs from, and they're scraps of rescued fabrics, rescued from the textile industry. And I love Bazaar. They're a brilliant company. I love everything that they do. And Lucy said she'd enjoyed watching the Bazaar event video that I did earlier this summer, and that she would love to go to that. She would enjoy that as well. So I've sort of got a feel of the kind of thing that Lucy might like. And let me show you the tag she made me. She put in this lovely, I think it's probably actually a sticker, I don't know, but anyway, that will get kept along with the tag that she's made. Beautiful, all beautifully packaged as well. Look at this, and you can see that, you know, that's very much where she's drawn the colours and the inspiration from. Absolutely gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I think I want to make for Lucy something inspired by that kind of imagery, and using some of the scrap packs fabrics that I've had from Bazaar. That seems appropriate, seeing as she likes all that kind of thing, and lots of them are silks and things like you know, it's like sari silk. So I'm not usually, for something like a tag, I wouldn't bother to put them in a hoop, but I want to do some shisha work on this because I thought it would go nicely with the whole Indian theme. I love doing a bit of shisha work, so I thought it would be easier to just put a piece of this. This is another scrap from Bazaar. I'm not very good at using these hoops, you know. A little bit too small really, but I don't want to waste the huge piece. I'm hoping I can manage to get another tag out of this. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do is to take some of I've got a bag of sari silks here, which I've had out for doing my millefiori. All sorts in here. I'll pick out a variety of colours. I love the look of the orange and pink together. Some of those lovely bright colours. I might pop in some of these sequins as well, and then I'll apply some shisha mirrors. I've got here a little mixed pack that I got. Now I've only ever done round shisha mirrors before, but I'm thinking I might challenge myself and use squares this time. There's a really good, I'll try and remember to link to it, Sarah Humphrey Embroidery. She does a couple of really good videos showing you how to do shisha work, and she covers doing unusual shaped ones like this, not the round one. She does squares and triangles. I've had a look at that, and I'll try and remember to leave a link to it. But Sarah Humphrey Embroidery here on YouTube. I'm going to first of all just cut some patches of these silks and tack them onto here. I made myself these templates. I did one with that I can use to make different shaped tops if I want to. So that one's got that shaped top, that one's got that shaped top. I think I'm just going to make this one a square shape. I can't find I've got fabric marker pencils, a set of 3 of them in 3 different colours, and I cannot find them. I've just looked and I've just spotted them just as I said that. Oh, I put them right here so they'll be handy. Okay, I've got this little set, so I'm hoping I can use these to draw around this so I know where the edges of my tag are, and that's not really showing. Okay, that's better. Let's try that. Just about fits inside this circle. There you go. Wobbly lines won't matter because they won't be seen. This is all going to be covered anyway. It's just a base. These have got this little brush on the end. I suppose that's meant to take it off. Yeah, just takes it off pretty well, not completely. Doesn't matter for my purposes anyway. I'm thinking I might just use a bit of this where I've got this seam here. I'll just overlap the shape slightly so that when I put the back on, I can either trim it, or when I put the back on it'll all be enclosed. So I'll just go over that shape just slightly. That's where we use up these tiny kind of odd shapes that you end up getting. I feel like I want a bit of orange in there next to that pink. I love that orange and pink together. Where did that orange bit go? And I always like the look of these where you get the little seams, because these are recycled clothing, not like worn clothing. It tends to get some more like display pieces that have faded in the sun or something, so they can't be sold, or it could be garments that, you know, where a mistake has been made, they've ended up on the factory floor for whatever reason, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, I need to titivate around with this a minute, and I'll be back when I'm ready to start stitching. I need to have a bit of a dither. Right, I finally had to stop myself dithering because this will all look really different when it's been stitched on as well. I've got this precariously balanced on here now, and I'm just going to tack them on. I've decided on this purple thread, if it shows, that won't bother me, and I just need enough stitches to hold these pieces in place. I don't really want to have pins knocking around because it's going to annoy me, so I'm going to see if I can manage without. And then once I get to doing the embroidery and shisha part, I'm going to put this frame, this hoop in a frame thing so that you can see a bit better. But for this bit it's going to be easier just to hold it in my hand. I could have used a little bit of glue stick as I went along to hold it down as well, but now it's all on there and layered, it would be a bit awkward to do that. I'm just taking small stitches just here and there, and by the time I've put my decorative stitching over the top, you won't even really see these, but they would be easy enough to take out if I felt I wanted to. I don't usually bother in practice. I like the look of all the layers of stitching, so I'm going to work my way around like this and get all these pieces tacked on, and then we get to the fun part. There we go, I've finished faffing around. You can see that those are just very roughly tacked there. with that purple sewing thread. I've also used a different colour, a green sewing thread, just to outline. I went round where I drew that outline in the first place, so that I know what the size is. I mean, I could just make my tag bigger, but there's a chance that my recipients have a plan for their tags and that they will need them to fit the size that we've agreed they're going to be. So I'm going to try my best to make them 2 by 4 inches or 5 by 10 centimetres. I think my shisha mirror, my square one, is going to go about there. And I think I'm going to get that on first before I do a lot of stitching. I think that's what I'm going to do. I've had a look at Sarah Humphrey's tutorial again, and I'm all ready to go. So let's hope I can do this. Let's have it this way around so I can... Oh, one thing I must do, if you get these, don't forget they've usually got a film over them like that. It's awkward to take off once you once you stitch them on, so take them off before you start. There we go, that's much shinier, isn't it? You're better to see my ring light in it now, probably. I quite like the idea of having this shisha mirror here, because it's going to reflect whoever's looking at it. So it's kind of, if you think of the celebration theme, or the optional theme, there are so many ways you can interpret that. I'm celebrating mine and Lucy's love of these glorious sari silks and twinkly things, and twinkly things always signify celebration to me as well. But I could also interpret it as this is celebrating you, whoever's looking at this little mirror. Yeah, celebrating our friendship through stitching. So I'm going to try and do this like Sarah does it, and start with a knot over there off the work like that, and then you come up and just do a couple of random small stitches where you want the work, the shisha to go. So they're your little anchoring stitches, and then later on you can just cut this off once you've finished all the stitching, so you end up with a much neater reverse. I mean, my reverse isn't going to matter in this case because it's all going to be double layered anyway, so you won't see it, but I think maybe it's a good idea to start getting into the habit of doing that. So we start off by creating a kind of grid over the mirror to hold it down, and you want to go just slightly off centre and then go straight across. And you want to go right close to the mirror because you want it to hold it nice and snugly. And then I'm going to do another one quite close to it, going across the opposite way. I would say if you want a proper tutorial for how to do shisha, go and have a look at Sarah Humphrey. She's brilliant. She explains things so well, and it's so beautifully filmed. I can't actually see what I'm doing. I can see better if I look at the camera, so that's what I'm having to do, is look across at the camera to see that I've got that in right. I haven't really got that quite central, but I think it'll be okay. And then you can just do, I think some people just do that one grid, but I agree with Sarah that it's a good idea to do more than that. So now I'm going to do another grid laying across this way. So I'm going to just come up to one side of that one there, and then go right across to the other side. So I'm doing a sort of diagonal grid this time. Now I'm going to come up here and go right across to there. I've never tried anything except round ones before, as I said, so hope this is going to be alright. Do you know, I feel like there's still too much corners here. I'm going to put in yet another layer of grid here. And that's Tom arriving, so I'm going to have to down tools for a bit, well, for a few hours. And then I'll come back and show you the next step. It'll be tomorrow now. So I'm going to fasten this thread off here and start a new thread to do the going around bit, if that makes sense. So now you see on the back there, I can just take away this thread and cut that out the way when I'm all done. You can come in, but you will be on camera. Okay, so I'll be back in a bit to finish this off. What did you just do? Right, it's the next day. I'm ready to carry on. I've got another piece of thread. I'm just going to put a knot in the end. I'm going to come up close to the edge of my little mirror there, making a loop of my thread here, and now I need to work out where that middle hole is. It's quite hard for me to see at the angle I'm at. That is my middle hole there, so I need to go in there and come out towards the edge with the thread coming over the top, so it's kind of like a blanket stitch. Sarah definitely explains it better than I am. And then I'm going to take a little stitch forward further along the edge of that square and go down there, and then take a little stitch back. They're just really short stitches, you can see how small that is, and come up again. And now I've got to find that centre hole again. There it is. I've got my thread looped around, putting my needle in under those threads of the grid and over the top of this loop. Pull it, but don't pull it too tight. You don't want to open the hole up too much, because by the time you've gone all the way around, it'll end up too big and it won't hold the mirror in securely. And again, I'm just going to take a small stitch further along the edge of my square and pull it through, and then a small stitch backwards. So it's almost like a kind of back stitch, I suppose. Make the loop, find the middle hole, taking my little stitch forwards. Now I'm going to take a stitch back, and there are all kinds of fancy schmancy shisha stitches as well, but I'm going to stick to the basics until I'm comfortable with it before I start trying to get too clever for my clogs. I'm coming up to the corner now, and I'm just going to keep on following this shape around. It is awkward doing it at this angle so that I can get it under the camera, so I'm making it look a bit more awkward than it is really. I think if I could get this down at a comfortable level under my nose, it would be a lot easier. I'm going to come up to that point of the square now, I think, and again taking that backwards stitch, coming up in between. I'm pulling on this reasonably firmly, but not tightly, because you don't want to expand that hole too much. It might be that I'm not pulling it tightly enough, I don't know, but I'd rather err on the side of caution. Going around the corner now. got a little bit of gappage there. I'm not going to worry about it too much. So I think you get the gist of what I'm doing here, and if you want a proper demonstration of it, definitely better to go check out Sarah's video to see how that really should be done. What I'm going to do now is carry on working my way around, and when I'm back to do a bit different stitching, I'll come back and show you. There we go, I've finished going around there. It's not the best ever job. It's a bit crooked and things, but I think it looks really pretty, and it's given the effect I wanted. I've got an end of thread here still, quite a long end of thread, because I had to start a new piece. So I'm just going to do some plain running stitches around here, just a couple of rows, just to use up the thread, and I think I quite like the look of it. I'm sure Lucy will forgive a bit of wonk. So while I'm sitting here doing this, I just wanted to mention, if I haven't already in this video, that I'm going to start doing a weekly live. It's not going to be a busy, hectic one full of guests and giveaways like our monthly arty farty party. It's going to be a more altogether chilled thing where we can just sit and have a chatty, catch up, crafty kind of, just a bit like I used to do in person with my friends, where we used to just all get together, sit and have a coffee for a couple of hours, and do a bit of crafting, whatever we were all into doing. It would be quite nice, and normally in our busy lives it's so busy I don't actually get around to doing anything very much. I miss a lot of the chat. It's just all really quite hectic, so it would be quite nice for me to have the opportunity to keep up the chat a little bit more, actually do a bit of stitching or whatever arting or crafting I'm into that day. Have a chat as we're doing it. You know, people could share pictures of whatever they're doing in the easiest if it's in the Discord community, where we have a live stream follow along room, but they could also go in the Facebook group and I could check in there as well. Just it would be quite nice if we could all see what each other is doing. I just think that would be really quite fun. I've been very much enjoying Christine of Create and Craft with Christine's. She does these live premieres of her project that she's working on at the moment, which is where she's using some vintage Briggs embroidery patterns to embroider into vintage linens and things. Really beautiful work she's doing, and they're just such lovely cosy little video. It's video, so you watch the video, but because it's a live premiere, we're all watching it for the first time at the same time, and Christine's there as well, so we can all chat and in the live chat, a bit like when you're on a live stream. Yeah, so they're really fun, and I just think it's just nice to have that little chill out time. What I've got to do though is decide when it's going to be, what day and what time. So I think I'm going to put a poll here on YouTube and in the Facebook group and in our Discord community, just to see what most people would prefer in terms of time. And it was a bit difficult because we've got viewers in UK, States, Canada, Europe, Australia and New Zealand, and other parts of the world. And you know, I'd like to be accessible to everybody, but it's not always possible to do that, so might have to go with the majority. But if we can find a time that kind of works for everybody, that would be marvellous. So yeah, just bear that in mind. I'm going to try and work out how to do the poll, and I'll put a link to that in the description box for this video. Okay, so what I need to do now is some more stitching on these pieces, just to pull everything together. I want to do perhaps some, I love doing that Y stitch. I might do that between the pieces. I'm going to put one of these sequins, again scrap from the Bazaar packs, in the middle here and stitch where all of this is. I might do French knots where these little squares are, and then these other pieces perhaps just some lots and lots of straight stitching. Here I might go over where the leaves are. So I'm not going to, it will take me quite a while to do all of this. I'm just going to show some little bits of it, and then I'll take it off the hoop and show you how I'm going to finish the tag. I've taken it off the frame now so that I can hold it at a more comfortable angle. I'm going to stitch this sequin on into the middle of where that design on that fabric is. And I'm not going to stitch every single line in this fabric. I'm just going to pick up a few of them. I like including the little seams that were part of the garments that these scraps have been cut from. I like that these fabrics have had a previous life, and I'm happy to make a feature of that. I don't know if I really need to have this on the hoop at all anymore, if it might be easier to take it off. I just feel like it's perhaps easier to show on camera if I keep it in here. And what I might do is just do some of the outer circles and take them out into these other fabrics as well. What I've realised now is that, of course, you can see where I've done my green line of stitching there to mark the actual size of the tag. A lot of this is all going to be cut off, all going to be lost. I'm thinking I might just make the tag a tad wider, just so I don't lose all of that. I'm sure it won't really matter. I'm sure Lucy won't mind if it's a little bigger than it should be, hopefully. So anyway, what I've done now is more of these lines of straight stitching, following the pattern of that fabric, and this very inner ring, which was a boulder line, I've actually done a back stitch instead of just a running stitch. And now I'm going to whip it by just taking my thread underneath the stitch that I've already made. It's not going into the fabric, it's just wrapping around the stitch, whipping the stitch, in other words. And I like whipping chain stitches and back stitches in this way to get a bolder line. Sometimes I will, if it's been awkward, I will do it. I'll turn my needle round and use the blunt end of the needle instead of the sharp end, so that I can just get under that stitch without picking up any of the fabric. But it just makes a bolder, more pronounced line. Gives that sort of more pronounced line, which I quite like. And now I'm going to take my thread up here and carry on working on these lines. I said I wasn't going to do them all, but in the end I've got carried away and I've got all this thread left, so although, as I say, a lot of this would be lost if I cut the tag down to the right size. I think I'm going to take a chance and hope that Lucy won't mind my tag being a slightly bit bigger than 2x4. I guess I've just taken it a little way up into the other fabrics to sort of blend them together a little bit. Just got this here to stop this from getting in the way, and ended up getting stitched in a couple of times and I had to unpick. But I don't want to cut it off because I want a nice sizable piece here to do another tag later. So I might in a bit actually use a contrast colour, maybe the green, and do like a big overstitch across this. I think that could look quite fun. I think what I need to do now is anchor these down a bit better. I fancy using, I've got this tiny little snippet left. This is what I've got left of a Steph Francis thread. Just really like the colour. And I think it would look nice against this. Yeah. Let's cut that in half. Do some kind of random seed stitching on here. So for anyone that doesn't know, that's where you just take tiny little straight stitches, and they go in all different random directions. I find random quite hard to do. One thing that I quite enjoyed I noticed on a square that someone made for me in the last swap I did, was that they did the seed stitching, but they were in pairs, so I'm going to have a go at that just by way of a change. So instead of just now going off in a different direction, I'm going to do a little parallel stitch here. And then the next one will be in a random direction. It's one of the fun things about doing the swaps. One of the many fun things about doing the swaps is that you get all these ideas from the pieces of stitchery that other people make for you, you know. It's really inspiring. Quite like the look of seeing these little random straight stitches in little pairs like that. I think it looks nice. I'm going to cover this little pink piece in these random pairs of seed stitching, and then when I get here I've got to decide whether I do more straight stitching or I perhaps follow the pattern a little bit. So anyway, I'll be back in a mo. I ended up doing the pairs of seed stitches. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Across both those pieces of fabric. I like the way it sort of blends them together, but they're still distinctly different. I've now got some sort of purpley magenta thread, just two strands of a stranded cotton, and I'm going to do small straight stitches across this piece and here and up here. And then I'll do the same with the lime green thread around this piece and this piece. And I'll take the contrasting lime green thread, a big chunky, or maybe even use all 6 strands, and do a big overstitch across here where this sort of seam is. Quite like the idea of that. I'll pick up some French knots in the lime green where the dots in this pattern are, and maybe carry them, scatter them down to here. I still want to do a Y stitch in between the patches. Y stitch, fly stitch, I would still get confused. I will maybe need to do something too, like an overstitch across this piece as well, but I just love the look of those seams. Yeah, so that's what my plan is. I'm going to show just some snippets of it because the whole thing will take me ages. I'll show some little snippets, and then when I'm done, I'm ready to take it off the frame and assemble the tag. I'll be back. This is, to me, this is everything I love about slow stitching, because I'm just making it up as I go along. It can be as wonky as I like. It doesn't have to be fancy stitching. And I basically just keep going until I'm happy with it. Got a rough plan, but things change as you go along, don't they? So yeah, all the sort of pinky areas that haven't been properly stitched down yet, I'm going to do with this thread now. And then the same with the greeny yellowy greens. So relaxing. think I'm done with this now, ready for the next stage. Did quite a bit more work on it. Trying to get it to focus. Might focus a bit better once the black is out of the way. Let's take it out of the frame. Here we go, there's my piece all ready to be turned into my tag. I've cut a backing piece from this stamp fabric, which I thought was perfect to do the backing for the swaps, considering they all go in the post. Okay. So I can get another one out of that piece. These are scrap, but I might be able to use them. I had been thinking I would do it like this and then turn it inside out. I think considering I haven't got much to spare, I'm going to do it, blanket stitch it all around instead. I think I'm going to try and turn under the tiniest little turning here, and then I can apply these, I can put these two together like this and then blanket stitch. Right, so I've put a shed load of clips around there just to hold this all together while I quickly tack the two layers together, and then when I come to the top, this top part, before I stitch that last little bit together, I will sandwich this loop of ribbon. I've doubled up the ribbon to make it look a bit more substantial and interesting, because there'll be two layers, and I will sandwich that between those two layers and then finally stitch them together, and then I'll be done. So I'm going to do that minute off camera because I think that'd be quite boring, and this is going to get long enough already, and I'll come back and show you how it looks before I finish up the video. Here we go. I think I'm all done now. I'm quite happy with that. It's not as beautifully neatly done as as Lucy's, but I hope she'll forgive that. I hope she'll like the bright colours and the sequins, and the fact that it's picked up those lovely bright kind of Indian inspired colours. I love the pink and the orange. To me, always it's one of my favourite combinations. All of the fabrics and things came out of Bazaar scrap packs, which of course are all Indian rescued fabrics, and I know that Lucy loves Bazaar, so yeah, I hope she'll like this. Always like I've been the same with every swap. I've loved every single thing that anybody has sent me, but I've always been nervous when it comes to sending the ones I've made off to people. Always worried they won't like it or won't be good enough. We all do it. But actually, in practice, you know, if it's something you've made, you've taken the time to make, especially for someone, they're going to love it anyway, aren't they? You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's what I'm hoping anyway. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching that. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you're enjoying the swap if you're joining in. As I've probably mentioned earlier in the video, I will put my link tree in the description box so you can find your way to our Discord community, and or the Facebook group, and it's not too late to join in with the swap, and it's all free, don't cost anything to join the groups, and I will also leave a link to the video telling you all about it, and explaining in a bit more detail, because I think this video has probably got long enough already. Thanks ever so much again for joining me, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye. Oops.